Good morning, everybody. Happy Monday. It is just after 9 a.m. and I'm currently on a break, but I was on the phone with my husband, so I haven't done any reading yet this morning, but I will be doing some reading on my next break. But let's do a rundown of how this week's gonna go. First of all, though, last night when I was finishing up editing videos and stuff and participating in sprints with Princess at Castle Library and Bree from Bree Cherie Reads, I did read more of Extasia because I had reached my reading goal by the end of the day yesterday, and so I was able to move on to this. But I did get through another 76 pages of this, so I'm on page 176, and oh my god, the last like 20 pages of this was super like horror. Like, this is definitely a horror book. But I did not expect it to be as bloody and gory and scary as it is for a YA. Because I'm still under the impression this was placed under the YA genre, because that's typically where Claire is known to be in terms of her writing. She has one book that is adult, and that's Sawkill Girls. But I think this is still considered a young adult. Like, if I even look at the little informational page that they place in most books, like right before it starts, it says it's for grades 10 to 12. But this is like super scary for that. Like, I would have never thought a book like this would ever make it into a YA sphere, but it does, because I mean the main character is 16 years old and there's not like too much like adult content other than the graphic nature of the fact that Amity gets beaten the crap out of her every now and then, and there's a lot of blood and guts and stuff. But then again, The Merciless was also really scary. The Merciless by Danielle Vega, and that also was a young adult series, and that's pretty terrifying. Also, Danielle Vega's other series, her duology of The Haunted and The Unleashed, was also very terrifying. But this has gotten to be like super freaking scary, more so than I would have ever expected, but it's so good so far. Like, it's really cool, and I am surprised because about 150 pages in, we find out a big twist that I was not expecting to happen that early on in the book. So now I'm curious to see what else is going on, because essentially all I can say is that things do not go according to plan in terms of how Amity was looking to solve the issue of the men being killed in her town, and she finds out who exactly is doing that, and it's like a huge twist that I would have thought would have came in like much later in the book, like towards the end. So what else then is there to go into? How else do things progress in this? Like, that's fascinating. Like, I am very excited, because if we've already gotten that part of the twist and I'm still really intrigued and everything, I think this is going to be a really, really good book. But I'm going to pick that up later today after I get through my reading goal for today, which I need to get through more of As Old as Time by Liz Braswell. This is my final book for my Wheel of D20 books for right now, but this is also counting for my Witch-a-thon books. This is to complete the last spot I need on my bingo board to finally get a bingo for Witch-a-thon, and this is to read a book with a shiny cover, because it's kind of got that weird glossy almost kind of thing, and it's also got some of the text is shiny throughout it, as opposed to like the rest of the cover itself. But this is going pretty well so far. I'm not too far into it though, because as of yesterday I only needed to get through like the first 33 pages. So today I need to read a lot more of it. I need to get to basically page 160 something, I think, according to my reading journal. So I'll definitely get through a good chunk of this today. And I do have the audiobook for this as well through my library, so I will be able to listen to that a little bit more and make it easier for me to go through that. The narration is really, really good for the audiobook, which makes it much more enjoyable. But then the rest of this week, I have plans to read God of Mercy by Okezi Nkoa, which is the book club pick for Brandie's membership book club. I'll be picking this up later on this week once I can finish As Old as Time, but this is not really counting for anything in terms of Aurelium or Witch-a-thon. This is just for the book club, and I need to get it done by the end of the month. And then by the 28th, which is this coming Sunday, I should be getting through the majority of my last book I need to read for this month, which is The Girl Who Drank the Moon by Kelly Barnhill. This is my final book I need to read for Aurelium, which is to complete my shapeshifting class. I only need to complete the first level of shapeshifting to finally complete my classes for this semester. So my character Kaylin is obviously doing much better after going through summer school, basically. The characterization I have for her is that the first semester was really scary because obviously she's very socially awkward. She doesn't make many friends because she's very scared of a lot of people. She's never been in like a big city of any kind, and so this is all very new to her. And so she really struggled in the first semester and had to end up basically taking summer school in order to prepare for the fall semester and kind of get caught up with her classes and stuff like that. But obviously this semester, I think she's definitely found her footing. She's definitely got to where she knows what she needs to do, especially after going through summer school, and she is more determined to basically get through the last of her classes to become a Master of Elements. Now, as far as what she's going to be doing from here on out, I don't know. I think it's going to depend on what exactly I decide when it comes to the next semester in the spring, whether or not she's going to go for something again a little different, or she's going to stick with the Master of Elements career. I tend to stick to like a couple different careers when it comes to these career-based readathons, because I feel that when it comes to a certain character, or even if I'm playing as myself, there's only a couple of things I'm really interested in. But I think that it is possible that next semester I definitely will be interested in looking to see what are some other possibilities for Kaylin. But another that really sticks out as super impressive, or something that I think Kaylin would be really, really interested in doing, I think I'll stick with the Master of Elements. But for now, that's basically all I can say. Pretty much going to be just trucking along this week, just a normal work week for the most part. The only thing is that tomorrow is the release date for Babel by R.F. Kuang, Clown in a Cornfield 2 by Adam Caesar, and the newest graphic novel from the Critical Role Mighty 9 series. So I definitely am going to be getting all of those on Kindle. I was going to go get the physical copies from my independent bookstore, but I'm not going to be able to because my husband works during the day, and so I don't know if I'm going to have time Tuesday to be able to go out and get them, and I have no idea if any of them will be in stock by Saturday. Plus, also, it is a lot cheaper for me to get the Kindle copies of these books as opposed to the physical ones, because the physical copy of Babel, for instance, is almost $30. And last I checked, the Kindle version was like $15. So any small amount of savings I can get, I will take. Kind of trying to be a little bit more mindful of how I spend my money and what I spend it on. I am debating on whether or not I really want to buy Clown in a Cornfield 2 though, because Clown in a Cornfield 1 was a 3-star for me, but I liked it enough to where I wanted to read the second book, and when I had read it, I didn't even know there was going to be a second book, let alone that it was going to be coming the month after I read it. So I don't know whether or not I want to hold out until my library gets it. Anyway, that's all for right now, I guess. I have to kind of get through the rest of my day. I need to get back to doing some work this morning and just enjoying my morning. I also do need to film my Wheel of D20 spins, because while I have not finished my final Wheel of D20 book yet, it is going to be done. There is no chance of me not finishing this unless I really dislike it, and even then, I would have to get through 10% of this, which I'm already at like 7%. So it's not going to take too much for me to either get to 10% and then decide to DNF, or at least just finish it, because either way, it'll count. And I'm pretty happy with that, because I feel that I've done a lot of great work this month, and I'm not necessarily surprised at myself, but I'm just happy that I did really well this month, and didn't have too many issues with my reading this month at all, which I was quite surprised by. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and get some more work done and then do that clip, and I will talk to all you guys later when I have an update of some kind. Hey guys, so it's now about 9:47 in the morning. I just finished filming a clip real quick for my Wheel of D20 vlog. for As Old as Time. I'm already, you know, still on my page goal for the day. Like, I'm on track. I've been on track the last couple of days, which is great. But I did want to come on and talk a little bit about the fact that I'm going to be doing some more reading today, hopefully, of Extasia. Yesterday, I only got about 30 more pages through, and I will say that I kind of am eating my words from the last time I updated, where I wasn't sure whether or not there was going to be too much more story for the rest of this book, and it turns out there is going to be, which is very exciting. It does take a giant pivot, though, in terms of what I expected of this story, because there's a lot that, like, I don't know how to explain it without spoiling it, because it's so good, but, like, I did not expect the story at this point, like almost 200 pages in, actually just over 200 pages in, to pivot in the way that it has, because it kept feeling like it was going to go one certain way, and then something really big happened that completely took us on like a 90-degree angle in a different direction, and then again another 90-degree angle that kind of is going back the way I had originally wanted it to, so it kind of like made this like weird, like, I don't know, like not quite an S. It definitely feels like I'm being pulled in like one direction and then all of a sudden another direction, because I don't know what to expect going further with this, which I'm loving, because I really enjoy when I go into something very blind that I get surprised. And I haven't had a book make me feel this surprised in a while. Like, I've definitely had books where I've enjoyed the process of reading it and I've enjoyed the twist, and I definitely like really enjoyed the journey they take me on, but I have not felt as much whiplash in a sense as I felt with this, because it is startling sometimes the things that come up where you're like, wait, now this is what we're doing? Okay. And then all of a sudden it gets turned on its head again and you're like, oh, okay, cool, like, great. Like, it's very enjoyable for me, but I could definitely see for a lot of people that would not be enjoyable, because I think a lot of people would be expecting by a certain point that this would go in one very good, you know, linear direction. But this book is not that. This book is not linear in the sense where, like, it doesn't stay on one path. It kind of, like I said, takes that sharp right turn, and then it goes straight into a sharp left turn again to keep going down the same way you were originally, but you're just kind of like moved over a little bit. It's just bizarre, but it's so much fun. I'm having so much fun reading it, and it's so quick to fly through, which is even more enjoyable because, like, I'm super engaged. I get so excited to, like, read through my reading goal for the day to be able to get back to this. And I did receive an email from my library today saying that apparently the renewal on this was automatic because nobody has a hold on it or anything, so I don't have to return this until the 15th, which is great. But I do have to go pick up a hold today because one of the books for my next episode of Finish Your DNF came in. It's the third book in the Darker Shade of Magic series. I'm still waiting on book 2 to come in, which was coming in from another library. Actually, both of the books I had to put on hold were from different libraries, so I'm waiting for the other one to come in still. But I think I'm going to at least go pick up today after work when Robert gets home my hold on A Conjuring of Light. And just double check to make sure that, like, Extasia is renewed for me, because, like, while the email may say it's automatically renewed, I don't know how that works with this library. I've not had that happen before. So I would like to make sure for certain that it is renewed, so that I can make sure I have more time with it. And if that's the case, I'm very excited. And I think I'll even go back to renew Ophelia After All as well, just in case I need to, because it's supposed to be returned on Saturday, but I don't know if I'm going to get it done by Saturday, so I'm going to see if I can even renew that one on the off chance, hopefully nobody else has it on hold. So we'll see. But anyway, I wanted to also, though, talk to you guys about something I was planning on doing yesterday, but I totally forgot that I was going to do it. But I wanted to start doing this thing where about once a week, basically in my weekly reading vlogs, when I do them, because I'm not going to be doing weekly reading vlogs every single month. I think my next break from them is going to be in October, because I'm going to be doing a lot of stuff in October that is going to be, like, spooky based, and I have a ton of reading projects that I would like to do that are not involving weekly vlogs, and I tend to do weekly vlogs for months where I do, like, readathons. So, like, in September with Bookathon, I will be doing weekly reading vlogs, but I think in October I will be taking a break from that for a month so that I can focus on other video projects, because I'm not participating, like, super heavily in a ton of readathons. I will be kind of like silently participating though in some of them and talking about them maybe in other videos or whatever, but I'm not going to be like making reading vlogs for a particular readathon. But anyway, I brought my tarot deck out because I want to, in the weekly reading vlogs I do end up doing, I want to do once a week a reading for the collective in case you guys need a little bit of a boost, because I need to get back into my practice of stuff because I've been out of it for a good handful of weeks. My mental health when it comes to my practice is very synonymous, or like it's very in line where like if my mental health is not the best, I don't practice my stuff as much. It is really hard for me to find the motivation to. It's basically one of the things along with actually like taking care of myself, like with my skin, like I was talking about before, where I just don't do it. And I should, but I don't because I don't have the physical motivation and ability to force myself to do it. And that might be a product of my anxiety. That might be ADHD. I don't know. I keep feeling like over the course of my life that I have some form of ADHD that is intensely compounded by my anxiety, but at the same time my anxiety is very particular where like it just kind of fits in with a lot of what people know about with ADHD. Like I can't tell if I have one or the other. I know for a fact I have anxiety, but I don't know if it's just massive amounts of anxiety and it just debilitates me from doing much stuff, or if it's actually ADHD with a lot of anxiety related things, and I can't tell. Either way, my brain does not like me a lot of times, and so it does not allow me to let myself sometimes do things for myself, like do my tarot reading, or do my practice stuff, or wash my face, or even just like go on a walk sometimes. Like I can't, my body will not let me, my brain will not let me, and it is very annoying. And even when I force myself, it's nice when I do, but then I stop doing it again because I can't force myself to do it every single day. It just, after a while, gets so debilitating that I'm just like, what's even the freaking point? And that's not good. That is not how I should be living. I should be doing healthy things for myself because I feel better when I do them, not because, you know, somebody's forcing me. And it's not somebody's forcing me, but at the very least, like, it's hard for me to get myself to do it because I know that it's going to make me feel better. I know that these things are going to do things for me that I want them to, but, like, my brain is like, you don't deserve that. No, don't even think about it because you're not worth any of that. You're not worth taking care of yourself. La, 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 la. Everybody else is more important. There are things way more important than taking care of yourself. Yeah, that's my brain pretty much every single day. But we had a couple cards fall out, so I'm just going to quickly go over what I'm seeing, because, I don't know, maybe this is manifesting for myself in a sense what my feelings are, but if this resonates with you, please feel free to listen. If this doesn't, you can go ahead and skip to the next clip. I will not be offended in the least, but this is for those of you that like the tarot reads. I know that I do them a lot on my Instagram and on TikTok, so this is for those of you that really enjoy that and want a little bit of a boost this week. So first we have the reversed King of Candles. I hope you can see that because I can't really use my viewfinder anymore. My viewfinder for some reason is acting really funny where like I go to flip it up so I can see what's in the camera and it's just completely green. I don't know why. It's something to do with, I think, the camera itself now. I think that there's something broken within it. But if I leave the viewfinder down, the image is fine. And it's not like it turns any of my footage green by doing that. But for some reason, the whole screen just goes green. But hopefully you can see that. And then the other one is the King of Potions or King of Cups. This is essentially the reverse King of Wands. This is the King of Cups. Interesting because the reverse King of Wands basically indicates that either you or somebody else that you know is incredibly impulsive recently. They're making really bad decisions because they're trying to get like just shit done in some capacity. They're not listening to anybody else. So it's really important that whether this is you or somebody you know, that you get yourself or somebody else to understand that they have to listen, because if they keep making impulsive decisions, like say purchasing like, you know, big amounts of stuff, or they're impulsively ending relationships, or they're impulsively doing things basically that do not seem to help them, that they need to quit that. Like, because it's not good. It's going to bring them into some ruin. But on the flip side of that, we have the King of Cups, which basically is a person who is very much a good problem solver. Somebody who is able to think logically with some emotion involved, but not like as like the forefront of the problem. And so they're able to be a little bit more sensible as opposed to impulsive. So I don't know if this might be involving a relationship of some kind that you might be in, whether you resonate with one more than the other. But basically the way I'm reading this is that somebody needs to stop being super impulsive and start listening to the more logical side of themselves or other logical people, because they're going to ruin themselves if they don't listen. So it's interesting, like basically these cards work together very well because, like I said, you've got the impulsive versus the logical, rational kinds of things. So again, if this is pertaining to you particular, you need to start listening either to your logical side, your more rational side, or somebody who is very rational and logical. Or if this is somebody you know and you're the person that's more logical and rational, you need to get yourself involved with this impulsive person and get them to stop doing these impulsive things, because Lord knows they're going to put themselves in a really bad position that I don't think either of you are going to want to be in. So that's the message for right now. I don't know if that's going to resonate with many people. I know at the very least I am definitely the more impulsive one when it comes to things as opposed to my husband. My husband is much more logical, much more rational. I definitely play a lot more on emotion because I'm just, you know, by nature a very emotional person. I don't know if it has to do with like my star sign being a Cancer and I'm a water sign, but I at the very least know that I grew up in an environment where I, you know, was told a lot of times I am very dramatic, and that hasn't really changed. But at the very least, I know that, you know, I have my anxiety, which can tend to make me very impulsive and very emotional by itself, as opposed to anything star sign related. But my anxiety tends to make me very impulsive and tries to, because I'm searching for, you know, that serotonin. I'm, you know, looking for something to always like make me feel better, which tends to be impulsive purchases, impulsive food, binging in some cases, no purging, we're good with that, but definitely eating a lot more than I probably should, or eating things that are not as good for me, if that makes sense. So I tend to be much more impulsive in that regard, whereas my husband is a little bit more rational. He is somebody, when I get into my spirals, I can rely on to bring me back down, which is why, you know, our relationship is the way it is. Like, I actually can rely on my partner to help take care of me and figure out, you know, what the issue might be. There are some days, do not get me wrong, where I don't want anything to do with that. I just want to be able to feel what I'm feeling and be left the fuck alone. And those days I usually tell him, and he's like, okay. It's just kind of one of those things where my husband and I have had to learn that, because, like I said, I am the more impulsive one in our relationship, whereas he tends to be the more logical. But there are times where the roles will flip. And it's important that with your partner, especially if you have a spouse or a partner that is more impulsive, that when they start feeling emotional because of, you know, the fact that it's almost like they can't help it, or they have, you know, anxiety or depression or any kind of mental illness in particular, that you either, like, you kind of talk with them about, okay, what do we need? What is it that you need? Do you need a solution to your problem? Is this something where there can be a solution gained from it? Or do you just need to, you know, have me next to you? Do you need, you know, comfort, or do you need to be isolated for a little bit to give yourself the time to process your emotions and process it in the healthy ways that you have? Because, like, we have healthy ways of processing, but we definitely use them in a sense to dissociate from the rest of the world so that we can process the emotions. Like, it's not trying to dissociate from the emotions themselves, but just kind of keep us away from the rest of the world so that we can take that time to figure out what's going on, kind of thing. That's kind of what my husband and I tend to do. So if that helps anybody, hope it does. If it doesn't, that's fine. But definitely check in with yourself, check in with your partners and your spouses if you can, because sometimes it's really hard for people to admit when something is wrong, when obviously it is. And so just kind of being like, tap, tap, you okay? You need something? Can I do anything? If not, okay. Do you need to go be by yourself? All right, go do that kind of thing. You know, like, whatever it is. Like, I definitely feel like my husband and I have gotten a lot better about that. And that's come from honestly having multiple years of not knowing what to do and coming to the realization nearly 8 years into our entire relationship, almost 2 years of it being married, that like we're just now figuring this out. So if you haven't figured it out yet, it's okay. Like, it doesn't matter if you've been together for a year or 10 years, you're gonna figure it out at some point. You have to just open up that line of communication to a sense and kind of just, you know, let your partner know what it is you need and talk with them about what it is they need as well, because like if you don't know what to do, you have to ask. And I know that's really hard for a lot of people, but that is what ends up helping and solving an issue if you have. Hey guys, so I don't know exactly where I cut that last clip off just because I think my battery died while I was talking, so I don't even remember now what I was talking about, and it is much later in the day. It is now 1:35 in the afternoon. I took my lunch break to wash my hair and take a shower, and it is now pretty much almost completely dry. And took Oscar on a walk, and he did great. He's actually been doing really well with going on the walks. We go almost every single day, either during my lunch, or if not during my lunch, we usually go after dinner, my husband and I. So he's doing really well. We basically just go down to the end of our dead-end road and then back. And then if my husband in particular is walking him by himself, if I'm not feeling the best, he will usually take him across the road down to this little like roundabout and then come back. So it's probably about, I don't know, it might be like half a mile down and back, and then if he goes down that way, it's probably like about 1.25 miles or so down to the roundabout and then back, something like that. But it's a good walk. It usually takes me about 10 minutes for me to walk Oscar down and back on our dead-end road, which is nice, but I was cutting it real close because I didn't get out of the shower until about 12:30 because I had to like also wash my face and stuff like that. So I was rushing because then I had to get Oscar on in his harness. I make sure I had the pooper scooper in a bag in case he went poop out there, which he didn't. But I've been trying to be a little bit more mindful about doing that because sometimes he goes to try and I can get him to stop long enough to where I can get him back to the house and let him go poop in the backyard. But now it'll be easier that we have a pooper scooper to just be able to take him out and let him do what he needs to and then put it in a bag and then throw that in the trash when we get back home. But I've been doing some work, needed a bit of a break because it's going to be a long afternoon. I needed to update you guys though on what was going on just because I got caught off in the last clip, but so far I made more progress today in as old as time. We're getting to right now, I have about just under 50 pages left until I hit my reading goal, which I should be able to hit probably by the time I end work today. I'll be able to read more during this break, and I can usually get through a good couple of chapters. And then if I don't have anything really that I'm working on in particular, like videos or anything, like I'm not watching videos or something, I might listen to it. But I do have a couple videos I want to watch that are new today. I'm currently watching Liv from Olivia Reads a Latte's vlog that she posted today, which is so cool because in it she apparently went to my friend Brandie's sprints, and I kind of like have a fangirl moment for her. I'm like, Brandie, Olivia went to your sprints, she hung out, she's even reading The Final Strife right now, and I'm so excited because I just read that a couple weeks ago, and I think she's gonna love it. I think it is so awesome that she's picking it up this week, and I'm just, I can't wait. I hope she really enjoys it because I think she's gonna find so much to love about it because I loved it so much, and I think it is right in line with what she's looking for fantasy, especially when it comes to like a YA almost new adult. But yeah, so anyway, it's been a pretty good day so far. It's been a little slow just because like I've got not a ton of work to do, but enough to keep me busy basically for the rest of the day. Basically just reviewing documents that my coworker had to put together that she sends to me to review to make sure everything looks okay, that she didn't miss anything, and then I send them back to her, and that's going to basically be the rest of my afternoon. So I'm going to take little breaks where I can so that my eyes don't feel like they're bleeding. I also got dressed after I took my shower because I am going to go over to the library to pick up my hold, and then like I said, make sure that this is renewed and then also renew Ophelia After All. And I think this evening what I would like to do is work on, if I haven't got to my reading goal for as old as time, get to that real quick, and then also continue with this one. I also, though, today did end up buying the Kindle versions of Babel by R.F. Kuang. So happy with that. And I also bought the Kindle comic of the Mighty Nine Origins Yasha Critical Role graphic novel that just came out today. I did not end up buying Clown in a Cornfield 2, which I'm realizing I'm okay with, again, because I feel like I don't know whether or not for certain I really do want to read it, because I did give the first one 3 stars, and I was interested in seeing what would happen as a sequel, but I would much rather wait to see if my library ends up getting it by any chance, just so that I don't feel like I have to spend the money on something I'm not going to at least really enjoy, or at the very least I'm just unsure of. So that's kind of been a good step for me, because I thought that that was not going to happen. But I think I'm going to finish this vlog from Olivia and finish up some work real quick that I'm working on that I just needed a little bit of a break from, and we'll kind of check in again when something happens. I don't freaking know. I might not talk to you till tomorrow, but who the hell knows? I sure as hell don't. So my plans have been completely derailed. Sorry for how dark it's going to get here for a second, because while Robert went outside at the end of my workday after he got home to mow the lawn, there was a dog that approached him that we have no idea whose she is. We have no idea if she has puppies, because she has her glands distended as if she's been feeding. She's very, very sweet. Came right up to Robert and gave him all kinds of loves. She's not very aggressive. We did try to get her to interact with Oscar, and I think that he is just not capable of being around other dogs right now. She did like charge him in a sense, but I don't know if it was aggressive as much as it was her trying to go see him. But currently she is in the backyard, isolated, so that she's safe. She has food and water out there and a treat. And she also has a blanket to lay on the concrete, because it is getting very warm. So we didn't want her to hurt herself in any way. And now she also has the backyard to go do her business if she needs to. But I think I can get a good shot of her from here. You can kind of see her right there. She's wiggling her butt. She looks to be some kind of like a pit bull mix of some kind. She's very short and stocky. And I think she has puppies, like I said. But yeah, that has been what's been going on. Robert is out still mowing the lawn right now. We have called animal control. I have looked everywhere on lost and found websites, through Facebook and stuff, and I found nothing. She seems like she's wild. The red collar is only one we put on her just so that we could, you know, rein her in if we need to, when we were gonna try to get her to meet Oscar, but that's not gonna happen. I don't know what we're gonna do with her. I mean, like I said, we called animal control. I am more so worried that if she does have puppies, I don't know how long she's been walking until she found somebody. I don't know how far those babies are. And she's not whining like she has to like feed or something. I don't know if maybe her distended glands are more so because she's a little older. She looks like she might have some age on her. I don't know. It breaks my heart to see that she's left all by herself and is out and about, and that I haven't found anything about anybody missing her in our area. And so that makes me even more worried, because if she does have puppies, you know, they could be anywhere. They could be hiding anywhere, and I don't know how far that will be. I don't know if they're going to survive. I don't know if anybody's going to find them. And I don't know if she just completely left them willingly or what. And I currently have Oscar drooling down my back because he wants to see outside and see her, but he keeps barking at her because it's a new dog. He doesn't know her, and I don't know. She, like I said, went to like run at him, and I don't know if it was charging as it like aggressively, because he kind of just ran away from her, and then Robert had to pick him up because we were afraid that she might be trying to bite him or something, but I don't know. So for right now, we're going to keep them isolated as much as we can from each other until we can figure out what to do. We're hoping the animal control officer will be here tonight, but they said that they're not 100% certain if they can get somebody out to us tonight. So hopefully they can, and hopefully we can figure something out to do with this poor girl. And I just hope that she doesn't end up going to a kill shelter or something, because she is incredibly sweet. She's much more sweet than I would expect from something that if she is a wild dog. I don't know what to do. And I would feel really heartbroken if she ended up going to a kill shelter. It's bizarre. This is the weirdest thing that I think has happened ever in my life. I've never had a random dog come up to me and just hang out with me. And this is like the first time I've ever had to like hold on to a random animal that I don't know and wait for animal control. This is the first time this has ever happened to me. So I'm concerned. I'm a little anxious for somebody to get here to tell us, you know, what can be done. I'm worried about her babies, if she has any. I have a lot of emotions right now. I don't know I don't know how to feel right now. But I hope we can figure something out with her soon. I really do. I guess in other news, I met my reading goal for the day. That's good. So I can read Extasia. I don't think I'm going to end up going to the library tonight because I don't know if my husband is going to be okay with me leaving him with Oscar and then also this other puppy for even like 20 minutes. So I don't know, because Oscar's been a jerk all day today. He's been very mad. He's been very grumpy. He tore up more of the carpet upstairs because he was mad at the fact that he couldn't, you know, hang out with my husband right when he got home. He didn't get the attention he wanted. So he's been a bit of a jerk, and now with this other dog, like, he's obviously feeling even more upset. It's just been a bad day for him. Okay, so it is after 9 o'clock in the evening, and after figuring out what we were going to do about the new dog that has been around, my husband and I did a couple things. First of which, I walked down several houses in my neighborhood to see if anybody recognized her. Unfortunately, nobody did. And like I said, it looks like she's had puppies. So my husband then decided, after talking to a friend of ours who works for the police department, that what he could do is a couple different things. The first of which being taking the poor dog to a vet clinic to hopefully see if she has a chip, because that's the most important thing. With the fact that she's had puppies and the fact that she's very approachable and not aggressive, we think she is very likely not a stray. She also was very well maintained. She had like a little bit of like lesioning and stuff and like some like rough spots, like dry skin. But otherwise, she was very healthy. Nails were trimmed. Her fur was actually really soft and very, very well maintained. And so we think that she very likely could have just escaped from home and maybe been out for, I don't know, anywhere up to a day, a few hours. I really have no idea. But she had no collar was the biggest thing. So my husband decided that if we can go get her, see if she has a chip, hopefully that'll tell us where she's from. And hopefully that means we can get her back home safely. If it turns out she does not have a chip for any reason, then she will be taken to the police department and they will basically hold her overnight until animal control can go pick her up and take her to someplace, hopefully a good shelter, someplace that'll actually like help take care of her until somebody can find her if they did indeed lose her and didn't have a chip placed in her. But I also had a neighbor of mine take pictures of her, and they posted it to a local Facebook group for lost and found pets, and I also commented on that, and hopefully my comment will be done pending review soon, because I basically just said, hey, my husband and I are the ones that found her. It does look like she's had puppies, basically giving a little bit more information about her in case people need to know a little bit more information to make sure like it might be their dog. It's been a very wild evening. Oscar has not done well with the fact that there's a new dog. I think it's mostly because he wants to, you know, be around, but also when we took him out with her for a second to see if they would get along, she did like run up to him and it scared him. So I don't know if she was charging. I don't think she was, but I don't know. I have no idea. So that's the other thing. That was the biggest problem we had, was figuring out how we were going to possibly wait, because animal control said they would not be here until the morning. So the initial plan was that my husband was going to basically sleep out in a tent out in the backyard with her, because she did not like being alone. She basically picked us as her foster family for the night because of the fact that, for one, she approached my husband very calmly and very like sweetly, and then would not leave either of our sides. She did not want to leave either of us. So I don't know if that was because we were the first people that were super nice to her or what, but it was the sweetest fucking thing. Like, I wish we could kind of keep her because she was so sweet. But unfortunately, I don't think that's the case, and I do hope that at the very least, we can hopefully get her to her home where her babies are, because that's the most important thing. If she's a new mama, the babies are really important. They need mom. And so it would have broken my heart more to see those babies suffer and die because they didn't have mama than it would be to have her, you know, leave. And I'm sure somebody is missing her. She's so well maintained that somebody's got to be missing her. Somebody's taking care of her so well that they have to, you know, miss her in some capacity. So I really hope that that gets figured out. My husband's probably going to be up super late tonight going and taking her because we didn't want to leave Oscar at home, and he's a little bit more of the brute strength, so he can handle her a little bit better than I can. But I just really hope we can get this poor baby some help. Oscar, on the other hand, didn't seem to like her too much. So that would have been a point of contention for us. But it's okay, because our Bubba knows that we love him so much. He definitely got very jealous today. So he definitely is getting all the loves. Even though he's been a jerk for most of the day, little man, he definitely still needs the loves because he's feeling very, very jealous. Oh, and there he goes. Well, good news, folks. About 10:30 at night, I get a text from the young man down the street who told us that the owner had contacted him and said that they were looking for that pup. And then she called me. I mean, she'd been gone for a bit, but not like ridiculously long, but long enough. And so now their owner is gonna go get her. So yay, happy ending. Now I can stop stressing about it, and my husband can stop stressing about it. So all's well that ends well, and very glad that we were able to take care of it. Of course, I think about the fact that my life is not really that interesting, and today of all days, it ends up being that we find a random dog. It's definitely, I guess my life is a little bit interesting after that, but I feel a lot better now. She was so sweet. We would have loved to have kept her overnight, but it wasn't gonna work. But I don't know. Hopefully she ends up getting home safely, and yeah. I'm really happy. I feel good. I feel like we did a good thing. My heart feels good. So I think that I'm gonna finish the glass of wine I have, and then I'm gonna go to bed because not much else I can do today. I will say I did get through another, I think almost 50 pages, not quite 50 pages, but fairly close, in Extasia by Claire Legrande. I'm at now part 3. And this book just keeps making all kinds of twists and turns and things that I'm not expecting to happen, like as soon as they're happening. And so it's like, what else is there to see? But like every time I think that, it ends up going in ways that I'm not expecting, and I'm like living for it. Like, it's amazing. Like, I never know what to actually expect with this. So very excited to see what else happens with it, but I'm closing in at about 250 pages of it. And the book is like, I want to say either just under or just over 500 pages. Like, I know it's in like that range, but I don't know exactly like what it is off the top of my head. So anyway, though, I'm going to finish up with the night, go to bed, and we're going to start up tomorrow. And hopefully we don't have any more stray dogs come by, because that was very heartbreaking to have to deal with the fact that I didn't know whether or not she was going to go home or not. So I'm glad that things ended up working out, and it all worked out within a day. Like, it didn't even take all week, which I was worried. I was worried that we were going to be fretting about it the whole rest of this week before she went home. So thank goodness she gets to go home. So I'm very, very happy. But anyway, I will talk to all you guys tomorrow and let you guys know what anything else comes up. Hey guys, so it is about 10:54 in the morning. I've been working very hard. It's been a very busy morning so far. I've basically been working on one large request for like almost all morning today so far, and I need a bit of a break from it. So I am currently on page 106 of God of Mercy. And I like this. I'm not going to say anything in terms of the representation or the culture that's involved with it, other than talking about, in particular, the plot of the story. The writing is not my favorite. And I think that's because it's supposed to evoke a kind of particular atmosphere, in the sense that this is very much placed in a very African-inspired world. I would even go as far to say it's probably based in some form of actual place in Africa. But it is technically kind of a fantasy-esque world, because this is considered a fantasy story. The thing is that the writing is very... It's not even flowery. It's just different. I don't know how exactly I could explain it. You would have to basically read it yourself and also listen to the way the audiobook is, because I just feel like it's not something that everyone's going to enjoy. I think it's fine. I can kind of understand the main point of the story, which is great. That's what I'm looking for. But it is probably not going to be a 5-star, because I do think that the writing, for me in particular, is something that is not jiving with me. Now, I don't know if anybody else is going to feel that way, but the overall content of the story and the overall culture and representation are things that I cannot really comment on, because it is not a part of my own culture. Now, the only thing I will comment on it is about what the plot is. So the plot of the story basically first follows this young girl named Ijima, who is a mute girl in this town called Ichilu, which is part of a larger kingdom of sorts. Now, Ichilu is essentially what I would say is very African-based. It has a lot of African-inspired culture within it. They pray to one particular god, it seems like, but then they also have another god that kind of is like a god of death of sorts named Ani. And then there is Chukwu, who is kind of more of their main divinity, if you will. And a lot of people think that Ijima was cursed as a child, and so that is why she is mute. But it turns out she actually has an ability to fly as well. It is something that not many people are able to understand. But according to the medicine man in this world, who is essentially like their main source of healing and spirituality in this world, he says that essentially he believes that Ijima has been touched by the god Chukwu, because there is this big thing happening where in this world Christianity has massively come in. It has been taking over a neighboring city that is actually a large kingdom, and we learn in the very beginning in the prologue that there are 8 young men from Ichilu that are sent over to Amalike, which is the neighboring place, and they are told that they need to basically say to the king in Amalike that they are not going to adhere to this Christian idea that he has started to take into consideration and actually implement in his own kingdom. And because of that, the king in Amalike ends up actually cursing all 8 of these young men, one of which is Ijima's cousin. And they're basically what is called Osu. They are given these glyphs and drawings on their backs. I think they're basically carved into them, if I'm not mistaken, which is very, very difficult to think about because of just how graphic that is. But they are then basically, in a sense, cursed, and so they are kind of ostracized in their community. Now, Ijima, like I said, sees a lot of this stuff happen when her cousin comes back and all these things. And they also then find out that a little boy is born in their town who is born with teeth, which is not common. It is very, very rare, if any time, that a baby is born with teeth. Usually they have to grow into those. And so they think that that baby is cursed, and so then in this town they decide to throw it into the evil forest, which is basically a separating point between Amalike and Ichilu, and they say the baby has to stay there for a week, and if it survives, the curse will have been lifted, all this stuff. So, like, there's a lot of, like, myth and folklore within this world, and the reason I bring all this up is because it all kind of ties in together, where people are starting to think that Ijima is in fact cursed, that she is more trouble than she's worth, and Ijima is trying to basically just live her life. And the medicine man believes that not only Ijima, but the baby that was taken into the forest are essentially signs of an incoming war of the gods. There is something going on where the medicine man believes that Chukwu, who is the main deity, like I said, is going to be fighting either Ani, who is the goddess of death of some kind, or there's going to be some outright, you know, religious war in the sense of, like, they're going to fight the Christian god, something along those lines. I'm not quite 100% certain what all that is, but nonetheless, there is a impending god war that the medicine man believes is coming and has been foretold by Ijima's birth and her life, and also the birth of this baby with teeth. Now, Ijima, from what I understand, basically just wants to be accepted. She just wants to basically, you know, feel like she's a normal human being. And I'm going to place some major trigger warnings here for emotional neglect and emotional abuse on the part of the father, because her dad, you very clearly, very early on in this book, learn he does not like his daughter. He thinks that his daughter is nothing but a waste of space. He thinks that Ijima is essentially just a burden, so he treats her incredibly poorly. And so I want to place major trigger warnings for that, because I know that that could be very damaging for a lot of people. Also, like I said, there is graphic content involved in this. There is a lot of toxic religious aspects, because I literally just read in the entire first chapter of the second part of this, where we literally get to see how in Amalike there is this massive, like, Christian influence. We actually get to see a service go on in the church in Amalike that is headed by this pastor who is very much, I believe, looking to essentially not only take over Amalike itself, but take over the entire world with Christianity. They do talk about how actually there is Christian influences coming in from London. And in the second part, we not only see the service, but we also see how in this city in Amalike, the pastor's the one who's really running things. Everything goes through him. You know, everybody pours things into the church, which is not unlike what you will see in a lot of toxic Christian things. And other things ensue. Essentially, that ties us back to Ijima, because they hear about Ijima, and the pastor basically wants to try her as a witch of sorts and bring her to Amalike and basically imprison her and torture her until her powers are either depleted or she's dead. That's basically the vibe here that I'm getting from him. And that's pretty much more or less what he says. And the king even is in on this. He's the one that tells the pastor about this young girl, and the pastor, though, seems to be the one that's really in charge of this town as opposed to the actual king. It's got a very evangelical feel to it, too, because in the service, this pastor actually tries to exorcise some people of their demons. Very, like, the scene that came to mind when I listened to that scene through the audiobook was that scene, that episode in Supernatural, where they have the evangelical that is, you know, healing people. He's actually able to heal people, and you find out it's because his wife is communing with a devil or a demon or something, and she's giving him the powers so that he's seen as credible, which is interesting because, like, the fact that that is what comes to mind, it doesn't surprise me, as there was the point being made of the fact that the evangelical people that claim to be able to heal others is very much something that is like a big problem within Christianity. It brings that very toxic idealism of, you know, Christianity in some ways into this, which I am not surprised by, because this is supposed to be a story in some ways about colonization and about religious colonization, as well as, you know, just physically taking up the space of somebody that was actually already there. So I think this is going to be a really interesting discussion when it comes to the book club. But again, I can't really say much to the representation. I don't know much about the myths of African folklore. I don't know really much in terms of whether that is being played into this, because I have no real understanding of any of it myself. I definitely will be looking up some African folklore to see if there is something that might be involved in this, but it's not my culture. I don't want to speak on it if I don't know anything about it. But the only thing, like I said, that I'm not really enjoying from this so far is the fact that the writing is not my favorite, but that has nothing to do with the content. The content itself is very interesting. It's really fun to see the different layers that Okezi is placing into this, because there are a lot of things that are, you know, really important to discuss when we talk about things like colonization, because it's not just a physical aspect of taking up space in somebody else's home, but it is also in a lot of ways changing of the culture, changing of the religion, and in a lot of ways either othering or completely dismantling or eradicating an entire culture, an entire group of people for the benefit of placing your own as the more important one. And so there's a very, very important conversation that needs to be discussed when it comes to this kind of a story. And I feel like it's very synonymous with The Final Strife, which was the last month book club pick, which also focused in some ways on that colonizational aspect, or at the very least the way that people, when they colonize a certain area, tend to place themselves higher than everybody else, and anyone that goes against or doesn't fit in with that basically is automatically seen as lower. Gonna be reading more of this today. My goal is to get to page 200 something, I think like 215, which will get me into the third part of this. So basically, yesterday I got to part 2, and today I am reading the entirety of part 2 to get to part 3. So very excited to continue with this. I should be finishing this up, I think, tomorrow. So I'm very happy to get this done. But I really like it so far. I think it's going to be very interesting to have the conversation that we do. That's going to be it for me for right now. I just wanted to update you guys on how like the first little bit of that is going. According to my audiobook, at 2 times speed, I've got it just over 3.5 hours left of it. And it looks like I'm closing in on about halfway almost. I think if I even look at my physical book, I'd say I'm probably somewhere between 35 to 40% of the way through this, which is very exciting. But I gotta get back to doing some work today, and I will talk to all you guys later when I've made some more progress on this. Hey guys, so it is 11:35 at night on Friday. I am currently in Breeze Sprints, but I wanted to update you guys on my reading for today because I've done a lot of it so far. I've read like 251 pages today. Got to my reading goal of God of Mercy. I'm currently on page about 215 of this. We're in part 3 right now, and I will say that this second part really plays a lot more into the idea of this being more of a religious colonization aspect kind of story. It's not really as fantastical as I think the synopsis led it up to be, which is a little disappointing. I think this really, though, kind of looks at the fact that you have an established indigenous culture, an established indigenous world that has certain beliefs, things like that, and that's a big part of the story. And like I said before, in this world, they think that there are gods that are fighting each other because of all these random things that are happening, with the fact of Ijima, our main character, having been born and then becoming mute, and then also having the ability to fly. They think that, you know, she is somehow, maybe not necessarily a reincarnation, but she somehow has been touched by the creator of all things, like the supreme being of sorts named Chekwu. And they have another goddess in this world that is named Ani, who is basically considered like Mother Earth. It has everything to do with earth, fertility, death, life, everything. But then Chekwu is like the supreme god. He is the supreme being. And really this story focuses more so on Ijima, who is trying to be authentic and herself, but because of the fact that she's had these things happen to her, you see a lot of her father being this awful human being. He does not think that his daughter is well. He thinks that his daughter is more of a nuisance than anything and keeps trying to quote-unquote cure her. And then in the second part, you learn about the fact that this city near where Ijima grows up, named Amalike, is a kingdom that is being overrun by Christianized ideas. And essentially the pastor that runs the church that is in this world, in Amalike, is kind of the one running the show as opposed to the actual king of Amalike. And you see that he has massive influence over everything. And you also see a lot of torture. I'm going to say right off the bat, there's a lot of torture being brought up into this, religious trauma, things of that nature, physical abuse, stuff like that. So I can't really say much more about what happens in this book, but essentially what I said before is that they do find out about Ijima and decide that they're going to bring her to the church to try to, quote-unquote, cure her or exorcise her, if you will. So I will say that like I said, I'm a little disappointed that this doesn't really focus as much on a fantasy aspect as I would like. It's more of a contemporary setting, but it has very fantastical elements within it, with the fact of the gods feeling like they are somehow really ingrained into the world that there is in Ichilu. They are a very ingrained part of society, and again, the kind of evangelical Christian idea that there is within the kingdom of Amalige also feels very fantastical, like almost as if the pastor has some magical prowess, some magical bearing on people. That's the best way I can describe it, but it is not necessarily completely fantasy, but it does touch a lot on the issues about colonization and religious colonization in particular, especially when you have a part of a indigenous community that is indoctrinated into a colonizing religion such as Christianity, and how they, in a sense, become then the way that the rest of that indigenous community tend to kind of default on their traditional beliefs, traditional values, traditional culture, things of that nature, and how damaging that can be for the people specifically who want to uphold the traditions, people who want to uphold the culture that they had established, because it is what they know, it is what they, believe is right, and they don't want to be taken over by somebody who they have no belief in, essentially. And also in a lot of ways highlighting the very damaging effects that some aspects of Christianity can have, especially where they believe they are the only thing that ever is to exist in this world, and everything else is demonic, everything else is evil, if you will. Because there are definitely some Christian communities that are very progressive. There are plenty of Christian communities that respect things like paganism and indigenous cultures. They respect the fact that people have varying viewpoints and perspectives in terms of living in a way that is not Christian-esque. But unfortunately, what we see the majority of in terms of Christianity is that very toxic, very evangelical, this is the only way and no other way kind of mindset. And that is basically what this story is highlighting. So it is something where you go into this expecting a fantasy story, you're not going to get it. So I want to tamper people's expectations to this and say that it is not inherently just a fantasy story. It is more of a contemporary with fantastical elements, which is perfectly fine. I had just been under the assumption, based on the way the synopsis was pitched, that it was definitely going to have more fantasy elements and more of an actual fight with gods. Now, granted, at this point, I am in the third part. I just reached the third part, so there is still room for there to be something fantastical to come up. But from what I see, the first, 2/3 of this is more so contemporary. But according to the book, I don't have very much of it left. I'm 68% of the way through this, I think. So I don't have very much of it left. This book is only 281 pages of content. So I only have really 70 pages left of this, less than maybe. And I will be finishing this tomorrow. It was part of my reading schedule to finish this tomorrow. But what I did not expect to get done today was after I got to that, I started picking up Extasia again by Claire Legrande, and I actually finished this today. I read the last 120 pages of this during Brandie sprints tonight, and I gave this a 5 out of 5 stars. This book from beginning to end blew my mind because of the fact that while I was expecting a very village-esque atmosphere after the first chapter, the last 100 pages of this went in directions I wasn't really expecting, but makes sense because there are a lot of stories that are very similar to this that kind of go in the same direction that this one did. But the overall ending and the way that the story actually kind of ends on a very open note is so intriguing. The only thing I can say that is in any way a negative is that there's a romance that's involved in here that I don't think that was absolutely necessary, but I didn't mind it. I was fine with it. I totally was okay with it, it happening, at all. But it wasn't something that was, overtly expressed. It was something that was very sudden, and it was a little jarring, and so I don't think people would necessarily enjoy that aspect of it, but I was fine with it. I was happy. It was cool. But this was a freaking ride. I was not expecting this to be something that I would have fallen completely in love with. But it hit every single mark I was looking for when it comes to a horror book that also has magical elements and witchiness and girl power and feminism and just like, it hit the main box, right? But I like uncovered like a ton of other boxes I was not expecting to hit, and it did great. If you can't tell, I've been drinking a little bit. I drank 2 full glasses of wine. And I'm also very tired. Like, I'm having a hard time keeping my eyes open. I'm so tired. So this was fucking great. Like, 5 out of 5, 10 out of 10. Definitely like gonna be in that top 10, I would say, because like, hot damn, this was good. And if this is what I think about her YA horror, I now want to try to read Furyborn, at least the first book in that series, before the end of the year. I think that that's a possibility. I think that that's likely to happen. But this was my library copy. This was a back burner book, and more so something I wanted to read because it was one of my anticipated reads for 2022. And this came out back in February, and I'm really kind of upset that I didn't pick this up sooner because I love this so much. And like, there's no clear idea if there's gonna be a sequel. It's like, it's an open enough ending where maybe you could see there could be a sequel of a sorts, but I would be fine if this didn't have one. But like, now I need to read more of Claire Legrande's writing because this was amazing. I loved this so freaking much. And I've heard Furyborn is really good, and I've heard that Sawkill Girls is really good. So I need to read more of her work, and I'm definitely going to be getting a physical copy of this because I want to go back to this and highlight a lot of things within this and annotate it, because like, there's so much about this that I think is so important to like try to remember, and lines that were so profound and moments that I found so beautiful. Like, this month I'm finding a lot of stuff that I want to immediately go back and reread and like annotate and all kinds of things. And that hasn't happened to me in a long time, especially in the same month. I think I've had like 4 books this month that I want to like immediately go back and do that I already hadn't been in the process of like rereading. Like, The Hating Game is the exception to that because I've read that book now 3 times in like, since I've started it the first time. Tomorrow Robert has to go to work, even though it's tomorrow's Saturday. They had a lot of stuff happen today. They had a belt break in one of the vans that he has to go fix tomorrow morning. And I don't know when he's gonna get back exactly. So I will probably though wake up and take a shower and do my filming I need to do for tomorrow that I normally have to do, which isn't very much in comparison to like most other weeks. So tomorrow the only things I have to really do in terms though of like filming is I have to film my TBR, which that's the only video I have to film, take the picture for Instagram for that, and then record my podcast. I have to also take down all the books that are on my Pango Books site that I am gonna be taking to the used bookstore, because tomorrow I'm gonna go do that. And at some point, depending on what time Robert gets home, we're gonna go do that. I gotta pick some stuff up from my parents' house because my mom is currently like in a boot. She hurt her foot a few weeks ago and it's doing better, but she doesn't need to be out and about or anything right now any more than she needs to. So I'm gonna go pick up a couple things for her to go donate to a thrift store. And then, like I said, I'll take the books that I'm gonna, you know, pull from my Pango Books and take them to the used bookstore in my hometown. Whatever I don't sell there, I'll just go take to the thrift store or a little library if I can find it. And then I have to make sure that when I get back, I get some videos stuff edited, because Sunday, depending on if my dad decides to go with my mom or not, I may be going to go see my sister with my mom. And again, that's, like I said, that depends on if my dad decides to go with my mom, because if he does, then I'm gonna like wait until next weekend when my sister comes back to my parents' house to go see her, because I only would be going to go see my sister to make sure my mom wasn't by herself, because it's a long drive to my sister's. From where I'm at is like an hour. From my parents it's more like almost 2 hours. And so it would kind of just be nice for my mom to have somebody to go with her, especially with the fact that she isn't able to move around as much, and while my sister would obviously, you know, help her with whatever she needed, it would be nice to have another person there to help her. But again, that all depends on if my dad's going or not, because if my dad's going, then I'm not going to go, because obviously he can take care of her too. Hey guys, it's about 1:15 in the afternoon on Saturday, and I don't think I have much in terms of a reading update for you because I haven't done any reading yet today, but I've been sitting here filming. I filmed my September TBR and recorded my next episode of my podcast, so all that's done. The only thing I need to really do later is I just need to take a picture of my September TBR. I still don't know what time I'm going to be leaving because Robert did have to go to work this morning, and he's still not back yet, and he's been out there since about 7 a.m. So I don't know whether or not we are going to be going anytime soon. I have to then also take down all of the postings for the books that I had posted back in July after my 2-part unhaul that I had done, and just basically make sure I got everything together, and anything that's been wish listed recently is put aside because those are the ones that like I'm gonna keep waiting for people to being able to purchase them, because I know a lot of people when they wish list something it's because they want to hold out until they get paid, or they want to like have so much like of their own stuff sold before they buy something. So I'm gonna hold on to the wish listed ones just so that in case somebody does buy them soon, they get picked up. But otherwise, everything else that hasn't even been wish listed from the July books is going to go. I'm actually surprised because yesterday I ended up selling the Augustus Caesar book that I had in my August unhaul. Was not expecting to sell that one at all, but it sold and it was shipped out yesterday, so that was fun. But there are a lot of books I do not think that the used bookstore will take, and so whatever they don't take, I'm going to basically go and donate to the local Volunteers of America, which is another kind of thrift store similar to like Goodwill and Salvation Army. And I also though have to pick up my mom's stuff that she needs to donate to volunteers because I don't want her to have to go out and about with her foot being all messed up. So I think that that's going to be the plan for today. But again, I don't know what's going on this evening. I may be canceling sprints tonight because I just don't know what time we're going to get back. No matter what, I think today I'm going to pop on the audiobook while I go do some stuff for God of Mercy and finish this today. I have like, I think about 70 pages left of this, so I'm going to finish it today. And then I will be getting started with The Girl Who Drank the Moon by Kelly Barnhill. This is going to be my final book, like I said before, for Aurelium. This is going to be completing for my last class for Aurelium, and I want to get through some of that today. And then I think once I can get through some of that, I then will transfer over to Ophelia after all. So I don't know how much of God of Mercy I'm going to get through before we do end up leaving, so I guess we'll have to see. To script, I only have about an hour and 20 minutes left of this book with listening to it on 2x speed, so I should be able to maybe get through this today, again, depending on what time Robert gets home. Hey guys, so it is 9:36 at night, and I've just returned home from being out by my parents. Canceled sprints for tonight because I knew I was not going to make it in time for them to start, and I have a lot of stuff to do tonight. Because more than likely tomorrow I'm going to be gone hanging out with my mom and my sister. But I did end up actually getting all of those books taken care of. I donated a lot of the literature ones I had got from college and stuff like that, donated to the Volunteers of America I went to, and got all the stuff donated there I needed to with my mom's stuff. And then I did go to the used bookstore, and they did take all of my books that I had left over after that, which was great. I ended up getting $55 in credit. They weren't able to do cash because this bookstore, it's not like getting a lot in terms of sales. It's a very small community. There's not a ton of people that frequent it in terms of sales and stuff, and so they couldn't do cash, which I was totally fine with. So what I ended up doing was I basically had $65 total on my card that I had, my gift card for there, so I ended up getting a couple of things with that. I got 2 books that were used and 1 that was new. The new one that I got basically in their new retail section was Zachary Ying and the Dragon Emperor by Ziran J. Zhao. This, I don't remember exactly how to pronounce their name. This is Ziran's middle grade story that's very much inspired by Yu-Gi-Oh! They have a more young adult, maybe even bordering adult fantasy called Iron Widow that I don't have, that I thought I did, but Either way, I was really excited to see this when it came out, because if you don't know, I was a huge fan of Yu-Gi-Oh! Back in the day, and so I thought this would be super, super fun to grab. And it's another middle grade, which I'm constantly getting into, like buying more middle grades because they're so fun to read. Two used books I got were The Lovely Reckless by Cami Garcia. Cami Garcia is one of my more favorite authors because she is part of the writing duo that created the Beautiful Creatures series, which was a paranormal fantasy, almost kind of YA series back in like the 2010s, and it's one of my favorite series of all time. And so I've been slowly collecting a lot of Cami's work because I really like her writing style. So this is, I think, more of a contemporary that she wrote. It's not like super old, like I think it came out maybe 2019. Oh, 2016. Well, either way, this is one I've been meaning to find, and I grabbed it. And then the other one, in celebration of the fact that I really, really liked Claire Legrand's newest book, is I did manage to snag a used copy of Kingsbane, which is the second book in the Imperium trilogy, the first book being Furyborn, and I have a physical copy of Furyborn, but I didn't have a physical copy of Kingsbane. The second book, like I said, in the Furyborn basically series, and I haven't even read the first book, but I love Claire Legrand's writing a lot. So I figured since it was used, I would pick this one up because there's no way I'm gonna find this anywhere else for cheaper than what I got it. It was like $3 for this, so oh, I'm so excited. And I'm still just gushing over Extasia like nobody's business. I'm so happy. So those are the only 3 books I ended up getting while I was there, but this was about like $25 worth, which was very exciting. Like I said, Zachary Ying being the new copy that was pretty much full price. So, plus my mom ended up getting a few things. She actually ended up starting collecting the Sookie Stackhouse series, which I already have a few copies in that series, but she ended up starting collecting her own. But anyway, so I am very close to the end. I'm basically in the last few pages of God of Mercy. I think I'm going to give this like, I don't know, a 4 out of 5 star because I really like it, but it does not really hit in the way that I was expecting. I was expecting this to be much more fantasy based, and it's really not. I still really like it, and that doesn't have anything to do with the, representation or the actual content of the story. I think it's more of there's a lack of something that I think would have made the story a little bit better. But it's definitely very good if especially you're a fan of, like, I think Colson Whitehead. This is very similar in that kind of like edging on fantasy, but it kind of has some unexplained phenomenon that doesn't meet the contemporary standards we have, if that makes sense. Like if you're a fan of Colson Whitehead, this might be something you would be interested in because I think it's kind of got those same vibes. I think I'll just end it there. So thank you guys so much for joining me this week. If you guys did enjoy this video, please do give it a big thumbs up. And if you haven't already and you liked me and would like to see more content like this, go ahead and hit that button down below and subscribe to become an owlet in our flock. And I will see all you guys in the next video. Bye guys.